So thank you all for joining. I hope you're all comfortable sitting at home. My name is Florent. I'm in charge of embedded analytics at Toucan. I'm here to introduce Arnaud, which is a co-founder and product manager at Onbrane. Thank you for taking the time to be with us, Arnaud. Before we start, we have a quick poll. So if you can take like just a couple of seconds. So on the right of your screen, you have a tab with different tabs: chat, question, and polls. We have a quick poll for you just to know where you heard about this webinar. So if you can just take a couple of seconds to answer it, it would be great. You also have another tab which is questions. So do not hesitate to ask your question here. We will try to answer them probably at the end of the webinar. So do not hesitate to ask them on the questions tab, and we'll go over them at the end. So again, I hope you're all comfortable for this webinar. It may be a bit frustrating to be at home. At least I know that's the case for me. But certainly that's the best we can do to help regarding the sanitary challenge we're facing. There is probably not much else we can do right now to be helpful, but we're all connected to this webinar to act on something else, to act on the economic challenge it also represents. And there, I believe, and Arnaud, I think too, that we can do a lot. So the question we want to answer today with Arnaud is the following. How can embedded analytics help your product go through the crisis and prepare for a powerful rebound? So that's a bit ambitious, right? Nothing less than that, but let's give it a try, right? So before giving the mic to Arnaud, real quick, I just wanted to share with you what we think at Toucan will be key to make the most of the coming weeks and how embedded analytics can help. So the first point for us is do more with less. So we all know that we're facing an economic challenge, and that will increase the constraints we have on all our resources. So embedded analytics can be useful because it's going to bring down the total cost of ownership, the TCO, of building and maintaining dashboarding for your users versus doing it in-house, for instance. But something else is why do we need to do more, right? Why can't we just cut costs? At Toucan, we believe we have to do more because our products, all of our products here, because we're all product guys, I think, in this webinar, have to be must-haves. Why? Because if we're not must-haves, during the coming weeks, the coming months, we're going to face an increased risk of churn. And in this regard, we believe that our users need us, expect you to be a data-powered compass. They need us. They need you to provide them with a tool to navigate the crisis. Why? Because like all of us in this webinar, they need to act fast. And so they will cherish every piece of insights we're able to bring them. But still, this will not be enough, right? As usual, we have to prove the value we deliver. So another key part for us at Toucan is to demonstrate the return on investments our product bring to people. And we believe it will be key in the coming weeks. And analytics in that regard are often the tip of the iceberg of a product value proposition. So this is true during the sales process, during the deployment, during the daily use of a product. And this is often the most visible part of a product. So in particular, for key decision makers that are not probably daily users. And the last part of what we believe will be key is that everything I just said has no value unless it's delivered fast. So the last point is we believe we have to act fast, because what we're going to build have to have an impact on our business as quick as possible. And in that instance, a go-to-market of a couple of weeks will be really nice, right? So we could talk about this for a long time, but I'm going to hand the mic to Arnaud, founder and product manager at Onbrane. The partnership between Onbrane and Toucan was built months ago in a different context, but I hope that this introduction shows that, if anything, it makes more sense now than ever to listen to takeaways of what he's going to share with us. So I believe we're going to go through the Onbrane story. So what is Onbrane? What is Onbrane value proposition? And where do you stand here for the moment in terms of development? Where did you identify that analytics were key for the value proposition for your users? Who are your users? Why embedded analytics? Why did you decide to opt for an embedded analytics solution? And how did the implementation go? So I'm going to Shesh now and hand you over the mic, Arnaud.
Okay, thanks, Florent. Can you just share the screen, because I think on the chat there is some issues about black screen.
Okay, let me share the presentation.
Okay, thank you. So during this time, so I'm Arnaud Sales. I'm product manager and co-founder at Onbrane. So as Florent said, I will start with a quick presentation of what Onbrane does. After that, who are our users, what they want, and how we will implement Onbrane on Toucan Toco and Toucan Toco on Onbrane. So just to start, so Onbrane is a technology provider on the debt market. So we create marketplace and software on this market. So we start this project 2 years ago with a meeting with a big company who was LVMH, and they start to speak to us about how they can borrow money each days, because as you know, all companies need monies and start to borrow money on market. So we start to think about how we can help this market to be more efficiency, to have more efficiency and more security. So just to speak about the context, every day a big corporation needs money, so they start to ask to their banks. They call what we can call traders and brokers. It's basically trading rooms at Société Générale, Natixis, or something like that. So they say, okay, I'm LVMH, I want 2 million in 3 days. What can you do for me? Traders will have to make call to investors and say, okay, LVMH want money. Do you want to invest on it or not? They negotiate with phone, and after that, when an agreement is achieved, they can create a debt product, which is called a commercial papers. All this process is completely by voice. Voice is good for some points, but you can't have good security on voice. You can't have analytics. You can make mistakes because when you want to upload your commercial paper on your software, you can have a lot of like fat finger mistakes. So all these things make this market not very safe. So we have to create a platform on it. So basically, I don't want to give a lot of details on it because it's not the subject, but basically we are a marketplace where big, like financial director and treasurer of big corporation connect every morning and say, okay, this is my need about the money I need today, and intermediaries and investor can negotiate with them and create a debt product on the platform. Next slide, please. Just for a little context, we are now 30 people working on this project, mainly IT guys, so developers, support, formation, and testing. And we have 2 founders, myself and Pascal Leffer. Pascal Leffer has a big experience on finance and IT because he was Chief Information Officer at Société Générale, at New York Stock Exchange, and other big finance institution. So our users basically are financial director, treasurers, and traders. So all these people, of course, are surrounded by figures and data, but that doesn't mean that they are powerful or pleasant tools to use. They use all tools, a lot of Excel sheets, and a lot of agreement of data, but not a very nice tools to use for the data. desktop use, of course. I know that Toucan Toco is completely responsive for mobile, but we don't use a lot of these functionalities because maybe you've seen a lot of photo of trading room. It's like you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10 screens in front of you. So they prefer a lot of screens and not mobile or something like that. Finance is quite an old industry, and it was one of the first industry which be digitalized. So they still use the first generation of softwares. So not a lot of UX, not a lot of UI, of course. It's very old softwares with old designs. But that doesn't mean that our users doesn't like beautiful things. Of course not. It's a lot of young people who use the modern application, and of course they want to have the same kind of application in their jobs, but for the moment they don't. Can we just change slide, please? Oh, thank you very much. So the data we use on our platforms are 3 groups of data, and of course 3 different issues because it was too easy. The data that is already in the hands of our users, so basically is information about their own activity, like the amount they borrow, the rates, the maturities, and all this data is managed on Excel. So a lot of risk with speaking about billions of euro each year, and they manage it with an Excel sheet. So in terms of fiability of security, we can do better. Data available on external source of information. Our market is a regulated market. So Banque de France, Banque en Yvelines, Banque of Belgium make a framework of the market, and of course they define some rules, but they also publish a lot of information like statistic, a list of issuers, list of investors, something like that. But all this data is just a publication, and monthly or weekly publication with big PDF or big Excel sheet, not very easy to read and easy to use, because it's both data with no treatment or something like that, of course with no API. And the third groups of data is data which come exclusively from our platforms, because as I said before, we place a phone. So we have all data about the negotiation and about the needs and about how many counter offer you can receive and who works with who and something like that. So it's a lot of information we can use. Of course, we have to respect a lot of secrets, because it's an industry with a lot of conservative and a lot of secrets, and so we have to be very careful with the data we want to publish. But of course, we can use it to bring some information. Next slide, please. So the main use of data for our users, of course, so it's a real tool for decision support to establish an effective debt strategy. Basically, every morning they can connect on the platform, see the data, and say, okay, today I have to go on the US market or on the UK market or on the French market to borrow money. It's an international market, so you can have differences of price if you want to borrow money in dollars or in euro, or if you want to borrow for like 3 days, 3 months, or 6 months. There are different price, and you have to develop an effective debt strategy, and of course data can help with that. A benchmark to negotiate the best price. Of course, if you know the price of your neighbor, you can negotiate your price better. So they want to know that this type of companies, how they have money and on which maturity, which one, and something like that. So it's important it's a negotiate tools. Of course, as I think everybody on modern industry, they have a lot of reporting demands. So they want to have a platform with a lot of data they can export, comment, and something like that for financial report every 3 months or every month. And the last one, it's a compliance activity. It's just because you know that financial traders and brokers are quite So how can I say that? It's an industry with a lot of control. Everybody wants to know if you choose to work with this bank, it's because they have the best price, or if they just offer you some good champagne or something like that. So of course, I have a lot of compliance activity. It's like a log of all the activity on the platform. But we don't use Toucan Toco for this part because it's not a visualization. It's just a list of data they can export to for compliance reason. But the third one, of course, using Toucan Toco. So when we make this specification, we say, okay, so now our users want to do that with their data. We have to choose a provider or not a provider, and if you want a provider, which one. So we start to make our main specification, so Onbrane main specification, not for our clients, but for us. So our specification was quite easy to understand. We want a perfect UI and UX experience because on our own platform, we want to have the perfect UI and UX. So of course, we want the same thing for our data module. We do not want to reinvent the wheel because we don't have a lot of developers. We have like 7 developers. It's not easy to hire developers in France and in the world, I think so. So we don't want to lose time to develop something somebody already did it. So it was very important for us. We want to use our own cloud architecture. As I said before, we are in a finance industry. So finance has a lot of expectation about security, about servers. So basically, we have an AWS cloud architecture in France, in London, in Frankfurt, with different deployments depending on the client. We have physical lines with some actors. So it's very complex architecture, and we want to find a solution that can be on our architecture and not host. Of course, we want a perfect integration with our software. So like we don't want your user to have 2 connections. We don't want a delay in how our data are pushed on the software, of course. We want to work with our peers. We are a startup, and we like to work with companies that are startup or old startup or young companies, and we are with same spirit as us. It's very important for us because I personally believe that the best way to work with people that share the same values as you. Non-technical autonomy. We want our product manager to be able to create reporting, to create data, dashboard, and something like that. So we don't want to ask our developers every time our clients want to make something. Donc it was important to have a back office for non-technical guys. And last one, salami slice integration. Salami slice, it's our way of working. I like to develop little functionalities, slice by slice, and show it to my clients. And if my clients like it, I develop the second slice. And say I don't like big project. I think big project is the best way to fail a project. So I prefer to make some functionalities, and when the functionalities is implemented, show it to my clients and ask feedbacks before continue to develop this kind of project. So so it was important for us to find someone that can work with that type of development. Can you just change the next slide, please? So now that I have my main functionalities, I have to define if I want to develop myself all this data parts, or if we prefer to ask to buy open source library or to use open source library, or if you want to use a BI, a business intelligence provider, or Toucan Toco. Of course, Toucan Toco was one of the BI provider at that time. So I just take my my functionalities and make a little table with that. So basically, a perfect UI and UX experience. If you want to develop by ourselves, I think we can do a good UI and UX experience, because that's our job, but it will be long. With open source library, is just about good UI. So you have like a good map, a good curve, a good histogram, but it's not UX, because UX, it's more about your process. Like if I'm a user, I want to show a graph, I want to export it, I want to comment it, I want to send it by email and something like that. And there are no open source library that can use all the process of viewing a data, comment it, export it, and something like that. Of course, there are no library like that on the market. So you can only have a good UI, and for the UX, you have to develop all the things. Classic BI provider, I will not name all of the BI providers I've seen, but clearly Toucan Toco has the best UX and UI approach and result. So 1 point for Toucan about that. For do not reinvent the wheel, of course, if we have to develop all the data module by ourselves, we reinvent the wheel, so it's not a good thing. With open source library, as I said before, it's only some parts of the application, so we can't. And BI provider and Toucan Toco, of course, they have already a complete module and a complete software, so we don't have to develop anything. So of course, it's a yes for both. Use our clone architecture, of course, yes for Onbrane, yes for open source library. Not all providers allow us to make that. Some of them are just their own cloud architecture, and we can't use ours, so we have to forget this one. And Toucan Toco, of course, allow this kind of architecture with the on-premise offer. Perfect integration with our software, same thing as before. Not all BI provider allow that. The big majority allows, but not all of them. And Toucan Toco is a yes. Work with our peers, of course. When I benchmark all the BI provider, it's a lot of big companies with process and values that are not completely the same as us. In terms of development, marketing, stuff like that. So of course we have a good feeling with Toucan Toco, but it's more a personal and subjective approach. So I can't speak a lot about that. Non-technical autonomy. Of course, if we have to develop a back office by ourselves, it will take months. Donc it's a nonsense to make it by our own. Open source library, of course, they are not using this kind of process. And for BI provider, some of them has, some of them doesn't. So don't. So Toucan Toco use that. So it was one of our important points. And same thing for Salami slice integration. Not all BI provider allow you to develop just a few parts. Some of them have big software with a lot of integration before starting to show result to our clients. Okay, so next slide. So now I will speak about, now I can show you why I select Toucan Toco. I will show you what we used, how we used Toucan Toco. So the first slice was an MVP of a full Toucan Toco embed. So we want to make something really easy, really fast to develop. We want this as soon as possible to show to our clients what we want to do. So we start to create a complete Toucan Toco with fake data just to create the structure. And that's the way that Toucan Toco advises to make it. So we start to make a full Toucan Toco app with one chapter, one context. Donc I will show it later, but it's basically you have the D-Day activity, you have the evolution of your activity, and you have the comparison with your market. So just 3 big chapters and with a sub-chapter with them. I will show you that later. We want to use the data from the 3 groups I presented before, because we want to prove the potential of the app. So if we just use one type of data, it will be quite useless. Of course, we want a simple integration of on our platform. As I said before, we don't want to lose time with a lot of integration. So we want to have an app we can embed easily, connect our user, and that's it for the moment. And we want to respond to the three main issues. The three main issues was exporting, comment, view data, and something like that. So we want an app with all of these functionalities. Maybe I can share my screen just, yes. Okay. Okay, so I just share my screen. I think it's good for, okay, it's like, okay, so now for instance, I will just show you the MVP we make with Toucan Toco. So as I said before, we just want, this is our software. We just want to have a very simple integration. So for the moment, we just take a full embed of Toucan Toco and embed it on our platform. So that's it. When I am on the platform, I can click on this button and I can see at every time I can have an access to all the app we create on Toucan Toco. So as you see, there are no specific design. It's just a full app, embedded on our platform, but we want to show it to our clients as soon as possible. So we keep it very simple. We make 4 stories. Georgie, it's due day is actual activity. Like, okay, so now what is my outstanding? What is my price by maturity and something like that. So you can have your own activity. Then can after that see how the activity, the evolution of the activity during the time. And after that, they can, the third context in when they want to make a comparison with the market, basically they can see that, okay, this is the evolution of my book and this is the market evolution. And I can see if I am in the market or out the market. So that's it, just a very easy integration. Of course, as I said before, we don't have to reconnect on the app. The connection with users is completely invisible for the users. We have all the functionalities about to export data, annotate, and something like that, or comment. And it's a very easy because it's just a button, and with this button you can have all the app at any time on the platform. So when I'm negotiating right now, I'm negotiating with Société Générale. I just can click here and see, okay, so now what is the price of Société Générale for the moment, and I can see that on just a few clicks. So this was the easy part. So what I call the MVP. After that, we have a lot of other idea. The second one, we don't make it for the moment, but for the next weeks and next months, we want to just select some of few graph and some of few stories on Toucan Toco and place it on our platform. Like for instance, I'm on the dashboard. So this is our dashboard. We can just put that like one story on one block. It's more contextual. It's a better integration because Toucan Toco will be completely implanted in our software near other functionalities of our software. So it will be the next step. So it's to define some graph here. So this is the next step. Yes, another next step will be to implant Toucan Toco on functional settings. For instance, here I am a graph. It's not on Toucan Toco, so of course it's more ugly than it's uglier than we can have on Toucan Toco. We have lot of curve and lot of histogram on our application, like this one. Like this one, we have a lot of this curve. It's not made with Toucan Toco, and of course, in the future, we want to switch to have like the curve of Toucan Toco on this, because we want to have an homogeneous design, and we think that the Toucan Toco curves are better in terms of responsive and in terms of reactivity than what we have for the moment. So this is a second part. Sorry. Up. So that's it. We have all the. Sorry, I just. Okay. I just switched stop my sharing screen because I think that's it for the moment. Maybe we can return on the presentation. Of course, we have other idea, lot of other idea. Basically, we want to create new application for our selling guys. Because as I said before, thanks to Toucan Toco, now every non-functional employee at Onbrane can use Toucan Toco to create application with the data we have on the platform and on the market. So we can create new app, for instance, to know which clients, which opportunities we want to go, which clients we have to see, because we have all the information about on the market on our app. We can create. We want to create a public app on our website. Because we want people that are not our clients can go on our website and just see how the market works and something like that. So we can use Toucan Toco for that, and it will be great because Toucan Toco is very easy to use. So for people that just want to have few information, they can use our website for that, and we can create a brand image of expert of the market with that kind of app. And in the future, of course, we want to use Toucan Toco to visualize the result of our machine learning system. We are currently working on machine learning system to create different scenarios about debt strategy. So basically, in a company like Air Liquide can say, okay, now this is my actual strategy, and how I can, if I change like my rating agency, if I change my my currency and something like that, what would be the impact on my activity? We can make something like that with a machine learning system, but it's just a back office system, and we want Toucan Toco to be the data visualization of this module, which will be a very, very important module for us, because it's basically the future or investment is to have machine learning that can help you to know where to invest and how you can borrow money and something like that. So that's it. And of course, I want to speak about, just maybe share the screen because I don't. So the last part will be the KPI and the feedbacks about Toucan Toco. So we are very pleased to use Toucan Toco every day. So about KPI and feedbacks, we deploy a data vision solution in a few days because we just have to download the Toucan Toco app, put on our architecture, and connect the user and connect the data. So it's like few days or few weeks, but less than 1 month just to create the connection. After that, our product manager are completely autonomous on the solution and are able to create the app as many as they want. So it's very important for us that our product managers are completely autonomous. So now they can do that. The training at Toucan Toco was good. The documentation is very complete. The Toucan Toco wiki allows us to have all information about all the new functionalities, and we don't have to ask them every day or something like that. Toucan Toco listened to our request, and several developments were carried out for us. Basically, I think one of the more specificities we have is because we want to have Toucan Toco on our own architecture and our own cloud architecture. So Toucan Toco was asked to modify some of them functionalities to make it, and all the technical team was very listen all our requests. So thanks for that. Clearly, but the price is high. Of course, it's not free, but the solution is top of the game. So for the moment, I think the price is completely justified with this solution. Of course, we also like the new functionalities Toucan Toco are working on. Basically, the PDF export is something that we want to implant during the next month. So we are very pleased. We are pleased to see that Toucan Toco still develop new functionalities for us and for all those clients. So that's it. We just.
Yeah, thank you very much, Arnaud, and for the little story. You're in a difficult condition for this call, so thank you very much. We had some setup issue, but it's I hope it was fine for the most part. So thanks again, Arnaud. I know it was not that simple for you in your context. So thanks a lot. We had some questions, so we're going to cover them. Do not hesitate if you have more questions to ask them, ideally in the questions tab or the chat tab, and we're going to cover them. So the first one on the question tab was from Patrice. The question is client data stored on Toucan Toco servers when you embed a Toucan Toco graph? So can I let you answer that, Arnaud?
Yes, no. All the data are on our own servers, and Toucan Toco has no access to our data because we embed all the solution, and we have no connection between our servers and Toucan Toco servers. We embed, we download all the app, and we deploy on our own servers.
Yeah. So here to give maybe a complete answer of possibilities, you have different solution. You can store your data in Toucan Toco databases. You can connect Toucan Toco to your databases using what we call a live data connection. So no data is stored at Toucan, but there is a connection established between Toucan and your databases. And the solution that Onbrane used was to install Toucan on-premise, so that there is really no flow of data and no storage of data at Toucan. So if that answers the question, Patrice, I'll let you say it, or if you want more precision, please ask it. And I think it was the same question you asked on the chat. So I don't know if there are any other questions that.
Yeah, JST product can do full white labeling.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can, because we for the MVP we want just to embed the full app with all the logo and stuff like that. But after that, you just can select the graph you want, so with no Toucan Toco logo on it. But for the MVP, we want to keep it. And because it was an agreement with our users to say, because a lot of our users know Toucan Toco, so it will be a good thing that they know that we use it. But of course, you can white labeling all the embed.
And there is also another question by Pierre, which is it's for you, Arnaud. It's you talk about training and deployments. How long were those 2 steps? So maybe I can give you a more precise question. There are different aspects of training. So there are the training for the builders, the people, non-technical people that build the application. And then there is the training and the deployment for tech people. So maybe you can give estimates of how much time it took to train people for the building part and for the tech part.
For the building parts, we just start with 2 weeks training, and if I remember well, we just done one and a half, because we want to have days for the futures. So for non-technical people that just want to create application with no connections for that, it's 1 week. It's good. For the deployment, it was not very long. About if I want, I speak about hours for employees, because they have to form to understand how Toucan Toco deploy. But it was like 2 days meeting to understand all of that. And I think the first time we deployed Toucan Toco on our Amazon, we do it in 3 hours. So it's not very complicated, because all the documentation are here. After that, it was it was more long to define which functionalities we want, and because some of functions are not we were not developed at the moment, but after that it's very easy to implant the solution. So how long did it take to implement our solution? Of course, few months, because I said before, some functionalities was not developed by Toucan Toco, so they had to develop it. So it takes time to do it. But just from my point of view and my resources, it's 2 days. I don't know if it's clear enough for you, Guillaume.
Yeah, do not hesitate to ask a follow-up question if Arnaud already did not answer correctly or precisely enough. Okay, great. So maybe we can just wait for a couple of seconds, see if there are any more questions out there. But I think, yeah, that's a good question.
You put Excel to another. For the moment, it's not completely finished. As I said, as you see on the demonstration, is not completely finished. So we show it on demonstration to show the potential and the power of the app, but it's not completely deployed in production. So I think I will deploy in production when the MVP will finish, but it's already that. And when we have the second slice, as I said before, is the sum of graph implanted on the dashboard and something like that. And we have to make some design. The color has to be homogeneous and something like that. And after we can deploy in production.
And I think, I don't know if it was the spirit of the question, but do you intend to sell it separately, or is it part of your base offer?
No, it's a part. For the moment, it's a part. We prefer to sell. Maybe we will sell outside the access to some data, but it's not access to data. But Toucan Toco, it's not an option for us for the moment. Maybe we'll change. We are a young company, so we can change lot of time our business plan. But for the moment, it's not.
Okay, and to give a bit more context here, what we observe is we observe what you're doing, Arnaud, at Onbrane. So sometimes it's just integrated in the base offer of our partners, and sometimes they develop a range of they have a range of products. So they have free, maybe they have the basic offer and the premium offer. And what we see is that sometimes they give access to analytics only for the premium offer, or sometimes they give access to less developed analytics for the free, a bit more for the basic, and complete access to analytics for the premium offer.
That's it. That's the kind of thing we are thinking of for the moment. Okay, I don't know if Pierre, it's good for you. Did Toucan give you on the response? Yes, for Charlotte. Yes, Clémentine at Toucan spent a lot of time to understand our business, and we create the first reports with her. And he have a lot of propositions. So yes, they guide me on the reports.
Okay, so again, maybe if you have follow-up question or any more question, please do not hesitate. Maybe a last round of question if you have any. Okay, good. Okay, so I think maybe this time we covered the main question you may have. Maybe last chance for last questions. But if not, that's good.
If you have any question later, you can ask me with Florent on LinkedIn or something like that. No problem. I'm available for that.
Yeah. Of course, please do not hesitate to reach for more information. So thanks a lot, Arnaud. Again, given the context, I think it was quite good. So thanks a lot, and thanks everyone for attending. And again, if you have any more information, please ask us. Come and see what we have to offer, because we believe that now is a good time to build something for the weeks to come. So thanks again, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.